Arduino Uno board, a white to black LCD and its I2² interface. I had no project and no knowledge in Arduino, but there's a lot of inspiration on the internet. And I made a simple program that worked incredibly well. Then I went along with these bad boys and I started a real project, an antenna rotator. Breadboard, the workhorse of prototyping. Another purchase was this microphone module, which was a big disappointment. I tested it with this breadboard, but the results were not what I expected. I wanted a digital output for the sound activation, but instead I got a lousy analog response, which was not good for what I had in mind. A power meter for the electric distribution box. It is capable of measuring grid voltage, current draw, power consumption, energy, and power factor. Another power meter, this time with a socket for house appliances measurement. It can measure the same values as his bigger brother. This measurement rose another problem. The measuring device of my radio power supply has an internal shunt of 10 amps. The transceiver draws more than 10 amperes, but the meters did not display more than 10. So I ordered the 20 amperes shunt and an appropriate volt-ampere meter. The shunt came very well, thank you, but the meter got lost along the way. A very smart power supply module that, along with other parts that I had, result in this beautiful, useful laboratory double 30 volts 5 amps with USB connection. And with these ready-to-use sort of plug-in modules, I made another 36 volts 9 amperes versatile power supply. One channel Wi-Fi switch, 4 channels Wi-Fi switch, same thing with socket, Same thing with the light switch. A simple demonstration about how they work, no need to explain. A €2 all-in-one module, Bluetooth, MP3, USB, TIFI card reader. I worked a little to hook it to my car stereo to add hands-free capabilities to my car, but the results were far from spectacular, and I abandoned it in favor of a real Bluetooth car stereo. A cheap car stereo. I use it as music player in my shop and it works great. My ROBO-VACUUM needs no presentation. It's simply awesome. Wireless phone fast charger, very good. A small thermo-hygrometer. I put it in my shop to monitor anxiously the humidity. Because I keep there some electronics. Like this old 486 computer that I plan to power up someday. I also got this huge power bank, 30,000 milliamps or 30 amp hour from BICING. Yeah, if anyone can read something here. Doesn't say much, but I can translate that as charging goes. You can charge it by USB Type-C, Apple Type and micro USB. It supports fast charging and outputs via 2 USB ports, and that's it. It has a button to show how much juice it has inside, but you have to turn it around to see. It has 3 out of 4 points. So yeah, it takes a lot to charge, like 5-6 hours to fully charge in order to power my devices. A pretty little pan tilt camera from Xiaomi. It's an indoors camera, but I put this glass dome on top to make it weatherproof. Works great, connects immediately, not because I'm the house Wi-Fi, but also on mobile network. The playback also kicks in instantly from the TF card and records with audio too. The downside is that this camera doesn't accept any connection other than this app, so it can't be used in a custom recording installation. VHF low noise amplifier. This is usually more than I'm willing to pay for some Chinese product. It's a piece of equipment that I use in conjunction with my SDR receiver, but I assure you that it's worth every single cent. This is how I used to power the assembly, thus taking over 2 USB ports on my computer. But then I opened the SDR and steal a 5 volts from the board through a 10 ohm resistor and wired the power to the low noise amplifier. This is the reception without the amplifier, a flat line with the SDR gain to maximum. This is the reception with a little one with a low SDR gain. A higher gain leads to saturation and drowns the signal. See how many signals are there. The satellite reception is fantastic considering I have an omnidirectional antenna. Check out my videos with the space station and satellite reception. PL259, also known as RF to N type, which is a more professional radio frequency connector. Never had the chance to use it, but who knows. A nice piece of soldering kit. It is really quick hitting. Enters a standby low temperature mode when not used. OLED display, they say. All sorts of settings to fiddle with. I was not curious to see what's what. A copper sponge to clean the tip. T12 is the standard for the tips. Desoldering pump with 5 tips. Good quality and heat resistance. A programming cable and software for Baofeng UV5 handheld radios. The software always starts in Chinese. Oops, that's not the right menu. Again. I have good communication with the radio on COM7. These are the menus. I won't go through all of them, few as they are, but the software is very primitive, I can tell. It reads data from the radio, but in the end there's nothing to show. The radio was already programmed. How the hell is that? You can also set some limit frequencies and the power on message. That didn't work. Here is a spot, really useful, where you can easily tweak all the settings you already have in the transceivers menu, but was hard to set all of them. There is a file that I done with a series of memory settings of various frequencies, satellites, repeaters and ground stations. There are 127 memory slots. The really nasty thing is that there is no way to copy past channels, to autofill, or even to move some rows in case you want to add or remove a channel. You basically have to edit each row as it is. But there is also a good thing without this software that have been impossible to do crossband. Here you can basically put any transmitting and receiving frequencies, which is particularly useful when working satellites, which usually require UHF transmission and VHF reception. The smaller version, UV3, sadly is not compatible with this cable, though the software was supplied. Same primitive crude software where it is impossible to insert or delete rows, copy, paste or autofill. Same great advantage to be able to do crossband, putting any frequency you want for transmit or receive, which is a great advantage. 99 memory cells. A small radio made by Texan PL600 with a lot of features. For example, a 600 memories PLL synthesizer, but what is really interesting about it is that it has HF reception capabilities and SSB single sideband. Yeah, of course it has FM, medium wave, long waves, but also has a shortwave ham radio bands. It also has a fine tuning here. The antenna is pretty impressive. It also has the capability of charging batteries. If I am to insert 4 AA batteries, rechargeable. On this side we have a shortwave antenna helmet which outputs stereo signal on FM, and the charging port. A USB type B. This one also has a temperature indicator. It also can charge his batteries if you want to put 3 AA batteries rechargeable inside. Volume and the tuning. But well, since it has no antenna, because I managed to broke his antenna,